Okay, this sharing will examine some of the most powerful principles of African-centered education highlighted by Nana Amos Wilson and provide practical tools and an opportunity to reflect, reform, and refine ourselves at the core level using our culture is our cure. I say reflect, reform, and refine because a lot of what we fail to do is reflect on you know, where we've been, what we've been doing, what's been working, what's not been working. And a lot of times, you know, when we don't do that, we just begin to jump around at different ideas. It's like a shot in the dark, just try this, try that. But we need to reflect on a lot of the origins of what we do, why we do, begin to self-evaluate. And then with that, you know, with the reflection, there's a reforming of our minds, of our thoughts, of our ideas. And then from that point, you know, we have to refine those ideas over time. We're continuously changing and growing and evolving. So I just like to make that first clear in the beginning, that this is kind of like the stages that we go through, the process that we go through. The next slide is the, all right, our culture is our cure. Y'all know that's my favorite saying. If you know anything about me, have heard me talk. Our culture is our cure. Our culture is our cure is my favorite because everything that we face, all the ills, all the challenges, all the greatness, all of the triumphs, it all stems back to our culture. When we have anything that is wrong with us in terms of how we're feeling emotionally, we can go to our culture for the answer. When we are feeling in disarray, we're not sure what to do when we're pertaining to our children and ourselves, our growth, our development, we can always take it back to our culture. And so when that is the foundation of how we live, it is the solution for our liberation and our sovereignty at all points in all sectors. So I love the quote that Nana Amos Wilson says. He said, if we don't know who we are, then we are whoever somebody says we are. That means someone else is defining us. Someone else is letting us know how to function, how to act. And in most cases, it's not going to be in our best interest. It's going to be in their best interest. And we see this every day with Yurugu and how they plant certain seeds in us, with the media and with, you know, their whole construct, everything that they have set up from their books to their movies, to their TV shows, to their news programs. All of this is instructing us on how to act, almost as if we're puppets, if we are not clear about who we are. So one of the things that Nana Amos Wilson also said is change your mind, change your consciousness, and you change your circumstances. And so when we begin to think and be and walk and live as African people, we begin to, you know, reap the benefits of what it means to be African, to live out our truest and highest divine purpose. And our children have to experience that from a very young age, from even before birth. People say, well, you know, when they're born, but even in thought, when we are manifesting them to come forward, that the thoughts that we project in terms of their spirit being born into the physical, the ideas that we think, what we call forth, what we ask the ancestors to bring us, because it is a reciprocal calling. Our children are also calling for us and we are calling for them. So this is a great opportunity in preparation and planning for our young people to come forward, to ask for exactly what we need and to be able to know in advance, you know, what we are receiving. And we're just planting those seeds continuously. Same thing in the womb, that we're continuously planting those seeds and those thoughts, because those thoughts are very powerful in terms of manifesting what we want to see. And a lot of times, you know, through our pregnancies as mommies, you know, sometimes it can be very challenging because our emotions are everywhere. We may not always be feeling the best. But at the same time, you know, just keeping that meditation, holding that meditation of what we want to produce from our womb, right? Because this is a contribution to our nation, to our people, to our future, and to the intergenerational wealth that we're looking to have. Okay, next slide. All right, I love this right here. This is my opening piece because it's such a powerful thought that Nana Amos Wilson has shared. He hit it on the head with this right here, and I felt like it was so important to share this. And this was actually from one of his videos, and I just transcribed it. But he says, I, of course, think it is very important that we talk about the Black child, that we have some idea of who or what the Black child is. Because too often we hear people saying, I happen to be Black, as if Black is something that fell on us, unfortunately, some misfortune. And also there's implication often in that kind of phrase that except for our Blackness, we are just everybody else. So consequently, we are colored people, people that have just been colored over. But in a sense, we are white people who just happen to be Black. It's much deeper than that, ladies and gentlemen. The Black child is unique. Next slide, please. And it continues to say, it is not a duplicate of the white child. It is not a colored rendition of white children. It's very important that you know that because if you start off with that premise, no matter how good your intentions, you're going to do a disservice to your children. If you're going to do the right things about your children, you must know them, which means that you must study their history and psychology. You cannot study the history of Europeans and the psychology of the European child and apply that psychology directly to Black children. One of the major problems in education today is that we have a school system, and your children have inherited a school system that was designed to teach the white child, a school system that is based on the developmental psychology of white children. That psychology develops out of history and experience of a people. Psychology, you must recognize, reflects the individual's history and experience. That is why if you go to a psychologist's office or a psychiatrist's office or a social worker's office, they take your case history. And so I love that point because for so many reasons. Number one, our history is our story, right? Our story, telling the story of who we are as a people and moving from a foundation of the things that we've been through, the great achievements that we have accomplished, being the first to create civilization, being the first in this physical form on the planet. We want to make sure that our children are really understanding the power in that, because if we don't know who they are, if we don't know who we are, we cannot cultivate children who are born ready, so they don't have to get ready, they stay ready, they're on point, and they're ready to lead this liberatory movement. So there is a whole thought process that goes into that, because when we're clear about their brilliance, when we're clear about their greatness, when we're clear that they have come here to lead our people in their truest and utmost divine purpose, then we will not be trying to squish them into a mold that they do not fit in. And yes, there's a lot of situations like that where even when we deal with a lot of the books, you know, we've been so happy to now have books with African faces and faces that look like us. But what is the content? Is it a true reflection of us as African people? Is it a true essence? Is it the true essence of our culture? Is it giving stories and morals and values that reflect who we are? So we have to be very clear, because there's so much deceitfulness in this society that, you know, if we're not on point with every little thing, and I know it's a challenge, because part of it is, you know, always having to dissect things. But I think that's actually a good thing, because, you know, a lot of people feel like it's over the top, it's too much. But if we're giving our all, we're always looking to decolonize, always looking for areas that we can shift in and grow in, not necessarily all at once, but developing certain aspects of our characteristics and then getting rid of certain things that don't serve us. So I think this is so key and important, because it's not just like, you know, like they do with the baby dolls, you know, we're just gonna paint their face black and now they're black dolls, right? No, you know, the features are different, the hair is different, the body shape is different, the spirit is different. And so when we're clear about who we're teaching, then we will rise up in our true rightful place as parents, as educators, as, you know, community members, grandparents, aunties, uncles, cousins, sisters, brothers, and really take a lead role in decolonizing the minds of ourselves and making sure that we're not passing on the same pathology to our children. So next slide, please. All right, so where I always love to begin, and I feel is so critical and important, is family first, family first, family first, family first. I can't say that enough because so many times, many of us spend so much time giving our energy to everything else and our family suffers, to jobs that we don't like, to organizations, you know, to all these other things, and our family suffers. Everything starts with our family. This is the African tradition. We start with our core family, and then we go to our extended family, communal family, and it all becomes one family as the layers go out. I look at it as the Adinkra. You have your inner circle, right? And then you have the next layer, then you have the next layer. And so understanding that family is at the core of everything in our African way, in our African tradition, that it's only befitting to say that every family should have a mission statement. And the mission statement we often think about in terms of building a business, right? You know, we always talk about, okay, well, what is our mission? What are the things we need to do to build this business? Well, it's kind of the same thing, and it's silly not to think about what do we need to do to build this family. So the mission statement, as my sister, Dr. Alicia says, I love it. She calls it a legacy statement. And she's so right, because it's the building blocks of our legacy. It is the foundation that we stand on. And so I use the tree, you know, as an example of our mission statement because, number one, the roots at the core, right there, the foundation. The roots are our ancestral foundation. They are our story. They tell who we are. They deliver the ancestral messages that we need. And that is our connectedness to who we are over generations and generations since the beginning of time. And then the tree trunk represents our morals, our values, our traditions, and our spirituality. So the tree trunk is our commonality. It is our core. It is the part that the whole family needs to be on one page with. And if we don't discuss these things, what you will see as everyone gets older and develops, everybody will kind of take their own little journey and no one's really connected. There's no cohesiveness. So we have to have those things that are non-negotiable, that we will not compromise, that our family must have. What are our spiritual practices? What are our morals? What are our values? What are the traditions that we want to keep? And what are the traditions that we want to create? Don't be afraid to create new family traditions. We have a tradition in my family where my mother made her transition 20 years ago. We celebrate her like a holiday. So that's our Thanksgiving. You know, we have a huge feast and we have family over. And, you know, so the children have, when you create your own traditions, you create them according to what's most important to you and your family. And just like all of these other holidays are created for Yorugu and what they want to celebrate and what they want to keep alive, what are the things that you as a family deem most important? And don't be afraid to include the children in that. What are some things that you all, you know, ask them, what are some things that you all want to, you know, talk about? What are some of the things that are important to you? What are some of the things you want to celebrate? Those become our holidays. Those become the things that we revere and that we utilize as a central focus in our life to keep everybody on that tree trunk, on that one accord. So that way we all have a similar foundation. So we have the roots, which is our ancestral foundation, our ancestral connection, what brings us to the tree trunk, which is our commonality, the core of our mission statement, the things that we all vow to do as a family and how we live as a family. And then the third one are the branches. The branches represent the family members and their contribution and their individual divine purposes, because we know that each of us comes into the family with a certain role and a certain divine purpose that we live out in this lifetime. So there is room for some individuality in that way. But you know, when we talk about African culture, it's not the same individuality. And when you think of Yoruba culture, whereas you're just your own self and that's it, it's just you and you're on an island and you can do what you want, be what you want, how you want, act like you want, all of that. No, it is about a responsibility to uphold the morals, values, and traditions of your family, which is that tree trunk. So it gives you something to always come back to, something that when something goes awry, you can sit and you can discuss how they may have strayed from that and remind them and remind ourselves sometimes that this is what we vowed to do as a family. So it gives that common core, that commonality and common frequency that we move on as a collective. And then the next one is the fruits. The fruits represent the cultivation of each family member's divine purpose, individuality, and collectivity. And I say both because the fruits are when we cultivate their divine purpose. Our children already have that within them. The greatness is there. But we have to give them the opportunities, provide them the opportunities and the support to pull that out of them, right? Pull that colorful, vibrant spirit out of them to be able to actualize what it is that they're supposed to do. A lot of times we hold our children accountable for why they're not performing on a certain level, but it's our responsibility to find those ways of cultivating them. And sometimes we got to get really creative with that. It could be very challenging at times fighting this whole systematic structure that is constantly bombarding them, and yet at the same time, you know, trying to make sure we impart everything that is of us within our children. So bearing those fruits is key and important. It's not good enough just to know that our children are the fruits, but are they maximizing their fullest divine potential as an individual, and then to work for the common goal of the collective. So that's why I put both of those in there.
Tenda Mwale family, thank you for watching this video. To watch the entire Blueprint for Black Power Groundation and Nana Amos Wilson Veneration, simply click the link in the video description. The full video contains the keynote addresses from Brother Leader MBANDAKA, Is Africa Really Rising?, Dissecting the Propaganda, an in-depth analysis of the mainstream Africa Rising narrative and its implications for the African world. And also the dynamic workshop from Queen TAESE, Educating Our Children. The power is in the activation. This is a practical workshop on how you can develop powerful and effective home and community education systems where you are right now. The full stream is housed on abibitomitv.com. Abibitomi TV is an online portal specializing in powerful Black African-centered visual content. So check it out, support the thing, and enjoy the full Blueprint for Black Power Groundation and Nana Amos Wilson Veneration. Abibi Fahodie.